Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is going to be a Heel Heat Top 10. Now the topic of this Top 10 is very near and dear to my heart because it's my all-time favorite professional wrestler, Mick Foley, and the Top 10 Mick Foley Moments. Let's go right into it with number 10. WrestleMania 14, the tag team title win with Chainsaw Charlie, aka Terry Funk. This is more probably something that Mick himself considers a career moment. We get Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie, Mick Foley and his idol winning the tag team titles in a damn good match. WrestleMania 14, a lot of people think of it as just the main event where Austin beat Shawn Michaels, but there are some really good matches on the card. This is one of them. You got them versus New Age Outlaws, King versus Undertaker. A lot of good stuff actually on that card. This, a career-defining moment, probably one of the happiest days in Foley's life, and one of the happiest days for us Mick Foley fans knowing how much he loved Terry Funk. Next up is number 9. Now the lead up to this kind of surprised me because it was Mick Foley saying he never had a WrestleMania moment. He had been in the Fatal 4-Way for the title at WrestleMania 2000. He'd had the tag team run. He had some other matches on the card. But he really wanted to have that one moment. And he came out as himself as Mick Foley versus Edge in a hardcore match, probably, in my estimation, one of the top 2 or 3, if not the top hardcore match the WWE has ever produced. It definitely gave Mick his moment. It put Edge over at a time where Edge was just starting to get into the main event fold. It brought him out in a way that made him look like $1 million, made Mick look like $1 million. Their match at WrestleMania 22, who could ever forget the ending? Mick going through the flaming table. Everything about it was just awesome. Now next up's our number 8. This was a match that, as Mankind, he came into the WWE, and he kind of was there, but it kind of felt like he was just somebody they hired because he had a buzz. This was a match at Mind Games 1996 versus Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, where it really showed, it made Shawn Michaels look like a tougher opponent than he had been made to look in the past because he was hanging with Mick in his hardcore style, and B, it showed us why Mankind could be a formidable opponent for guys like Shawn Michaels, like Bret Hart, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. It showed us a glimmer of where Mick would go in his career and him being a main event talent, and this is the first real time we see him highlighted in that role in the WWE, and him and Shawn Michaels put on a tremendous match that's hard to forget if you've ever seen it. Probably one of the best matches in Mick's career, maybe one of the best matches in Shawn Michaels' career ever, and that says a lot spanning both of these guys' historic careers. Now, number 7, Cactus Jack versus Terry Funk, the finals for the King of the Death match in IWA in Japan in 1995. Now, if you're not familiar with this match, I honestly don't know where you could go and find it. You might be able to find it on YouTube. You might find someone that has clips of it. But this was the match that really got everybody talking. Cactus Jack up until that point was someone that was up and coming, and this is a match that put him on the level of Terry Funk, on the level of Abdullah the Butcher, on the level of the hardcore legends that preceded him, of the Bruiser Brodies. You know, that him and Terry Funk go out, and it's not anywhere near a Mac Classic, but they kill each other in this deathmatch format. Kind of set the seeds. ECW was starting to bubble up in the United States. Japan had some companies that were doing hardcore stuff. And this kind of sets the stage for the rise of ECW, for the rise of companies like XPW and IWA and Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and FMA, Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, and even the WWE and WCW incorporating the hardcore styling into them. It all kind of stems from this match. At that point, probably the highlight of Mick Foley's career, winning the King of the Death match. Just a great hardcore match between two of the greatest hardcore wrestlers that have ever done it. Now our number 6 is another one of these matches that made us stand up and acknowledge that Cactus Jack was a serious wrestler and a guy that could be banked on. And that was the match versus Sting in Beach Blast 92. A match that was wild and crazy. It gave Sting an opponent that was different, that was so easy to work off of. It gave Cactus a guy that was the antithesis of him at the time. He was a crazy guy that didn't care about breaking the rules. And you had the babyface Sting, who stood up for everything good in wrestling, versus the crazy, insane Cactus Jack that just wanted to kill everything in wrestling, including himself. But they put on a great match. One of Cactus's real first times that we see that Cactus could be a main event player. At the time, as a fan, I wanted them to run with him as the world champion. I thought he could have been a great heel world champion for WCW. Alas, that wasn't in the cards. However, as his career proved going forward, maybe some better things were on the way for him anyway. Now, our number 5 is a rivalry that all the fans wanted to see: Cactus Jack versus Sabu. My personal favorite of their matches was Holiday Hell 1995. This was just a knockdown, drag out. Again, much like Funk versus Cactus in the King of the Deathmatch finals, Cactus versus Sabu was showing us two of the best hardcore wrestlers in the world doing what they do as hardcore wrestlers, putting on a show, putting on a spectacle, giving us something that any fan that's seen it will never ever forget. Two of the guys that really define what it is to be a hardcore wrestler and what it means to be part of ECW and the ECW revolution. Cactus Jack and Sabu, just a classic hardcore match, one of the greatest matches I personally seen in my life. Just a thing. A lot of people, it's hard for people to think hardcore and think artistry, but these two guys took it to that level. Took it to a level where you could stack this matchup against a match like Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes, or Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat, or Steamboat versus Savage. You could put a match like this onto that level and it doesn't feel out of place, even though it's considered a hardcore garbage match. But these guys were true artists, truly talented wrestlers that definitely could break the mold and show you how entertaining a hardcore match could be. Now, our number 4 was a moment that I never thought would happen. He got signed to WWE. They turned him into Mankind. He had a solid run as Mankind. It was a great run. I'm not knocking the character Mankind at all. Don't get me wrong. We see him do the Jim Ross promos. He brings out Dude Love. Mankind and Dude Love both are feuding with Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And we go to Madison Square Garden in September of '97. And it was going to be a Falls Count Anywhere match. We see on the Titantron, Dude Love comes out. He says, "I'm not the right guy for this, but I know someone that might be," which brings out Mankind. He says, "Well, I'm the guy, I could do this, but I know someone that wants to get to you, Helmsley, even more than me," which they have a third, thus bringing on the era of the three faces of Foley to the WWE, Cactus Jack. And Cactus Jack makes his Madison Square Garden debut. Dare I say, one of the top WWE Raw moments of all time. Just a shock, just the way the crowd reacted to the Cactus Jack character in his hometown. My favorite of the three Mick Foley characters is Cactus Jack, and just the fact that he came out and they put on a hell of a match, him and Hunter, the debut, the crowd reaction, the surprise of it, the promo before with all three characters. Hunter and Triple H and Chyna's reaction to the promo, everything about it was just priceless, and it was just one of those moments in wrestling that just made you get that special feeling where you knew you were seeing something really special. Now, our number 3 moment is actually a conglomeration of a bunch of moments. And it's the Cactus Jack in ECW anti-hardcore promos. Now, if you haven't seen them, you could probably find some of them on YouTube. The easiest way to find them all, however, and I don't know how readily available it is, but this was a DVD that probably about a year before ECW went out of business, they produced 12 DVDs. This was one of them. Most of them were best of kind of things, best of conglomerations of all matches. They produced 2 that were best of specific people. One was the best of the Dudley Boys, and the other was this one, the best of Cactus Jack. If you can find this DVD, you will find all of the anti-hardcore promos. And if you're a person that likes promos, this is it for you. This is the pinnacle of what a promo can be and can do for a wrestler. It's something... I think that they should take these promos, take them to the WWE Performance Center, make the wrestlers watch these and show them what a promo can do and what a promo can be for you. Cactus Jack, one of the greatest speakers in the history of wrestling. I think so his very best promos were done at this time, and there was such a real feel to it, how he felt that no matter what he did for the fans, they didn't care, and that the fans wanted to see the famous Kane Dewey sign and everything about it, that the fans only thought of him as basically a stuntman. And just amazing work. Seek it out if you can. If you can't find it on YouTube, seek out the DVD I just showed you. It's called the ECW The Best of Cactus Jack. If you can find it, I guarantee you will not be disappointed with it. Especially if you're watching this, because I'm assuming if you're watching this, A, it's one of 2 things. Either you love Mick Foley, which you should be looking for this to add to your collection, or B, you're a fan of us here at Heel Heat, which, that's great. I'm happy that you're a fan of ours. Hopefully, if you're a fan of ours or a friend of ours, you take our recommendations, because if you like what we do, then that means that you probably like what we like, and that's something that I think is a great recommendation, a great addition to anybody's DVD collection or wrestling collection of any kind. Now, our number 2 moment is the moment that I guarantee everybody was thinking of as soon as they opened this list of top 10 Cactus Jack Mick Foley moments. Mankind versus The Undertaker, King of the Ring 1998, Hell in the Cell. What more can I say that hasn't been said about this match? The 2 bumps that Mankind, aka Mick Foley, takes in the match, the one off the top of the cell through the announce table, and then the second through the cell, are just 2 of the most gut-wrenching. I mean, it digs deep into your soul, watching the bumps he takes and seeing the pain that the man is going through, and seeing him smiling with blood pouring down and a tooth hanging out of his nose, and knowing afterwards that he had no clue what was going on. He didn't even think he was smiling. He was just trying to plug a hole in his mouth with his tongue. Just the beating the man took, and the level of just punishment and just brutality that this match had. It was a spectacle for all to see. One of the great matches of the WWE's history. One of the great, definitely great moments whenever they put together all-time great moments. This one goes in there. Hell of a match between him and his biggest rival in WWE, The Undertaker. I still believe to this day, I might be mistaken, but Cactus Jack Mick Foley has more wins over The Undertaker than anybody else. I believe I'm right, I could be wrong. But just a historical moment. I guarantee 90% of you or 99.999% of you that are watching this have seen it before, but it still doesn't take away from the impact it had on both men's careers, the WWE itself, and the Hell in a Cell match. Now, if you've seen our show before, or even if you haven't, we do a little thing before we get to our number one. It's called the best of the rest. Basically, these are things that just barely missed the top 10 in no particular order, but they were left off, but they were in consideration. First off on our best of the rest, Cactus Jack versus Triple H at Royal Rumble 2000. One of the last few matches we seen before Mick's retirement, his first WWE retirement. Just in the Madison, I believe, no, it wasn't in Madison Square Garden. Actually, yes, it was. I'm sorry. In this match, you've seen Cactus Jack, you've seen Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Just a great match. It was I believe it was in Falls Count Anywhere, no disqualification, something like that. Street fight rules, whatever they called the gimmick. But just a great match. Just another piece in the feud. Another thing that I believe on his way out, Mick Foley helped to bring Triple H from being a solid mid-card star to that level where he was the guy in the WWE for a long time. And I think Mick Foley was one of the facilitators that brought him to that level. And this is one of their best matches. Followed up by Cactus Jack versus Eddie Gilbert. 1991 Tri-State Wrestling Association. It was a promotion out of Philadelphia. It was one of the precursors to what would become ECW. They had a violent feud. It was a very local promotion, so I don't know how many people have seen this. They ended the feud with a 45-minute 2 out of 3 falls match, which was, I want to say you would consider it the precursor to the 3 stages of hell. The first fall was a Falls Count Anywhere. Second fall was a stretcher match. Third match was a steel cage match. Third fall. But just a great, if you could find this, if you could YouTube it, Eddie Gilbert, one of the lost treasures, one of the most underrated wrestlers in the history of wrestling. Also look him up. He's a great wrestler. There is nothing I can't say about Eddie Gilbert and how great he was. And this was Cactus Jack right at the beginning of the career. I believe he was maybe just a few years in, maybe 4 or 5 at the most. Eddie Gilbert at the time was already a seasoned veteran. And these guys go out there and they just tore it up. The whole feud was amazing. It set Philadelphia independent wrestling. It was one of those things that laid the foundation, laid the groundwork for what would eventually become ECW and the whole revolution that started in wrestling. And last but not least, in our best of the rest, speaking of ECW, Cactus Jack's last match in ECW versus Mikey Whipwreck. You get one of the ECW classic send-offs, the Please Don't Go, the crowd cheering for him saying his speech, him wrestling his best friend and best tag team partner in ECW being Mikey Whipwreck. Just the whole vibe and the feel of it. Your heart was broken because you were seeing one of your favorites, Cactus Jack, leaving ECW, but you knew he was fulfilling his lifelong dream and going to the WWF at the time. And it just, the whole vibe of it was something so special. It's something so great that it couldn't be left off of this. Now, before we get to our number one, if I think we put something up too high, put something down too low, or just left something off the list altogether, let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter, put it down where? Down there in the comments. And we're going to go to our number one Mick Foley moment. January 4th, 1999. A date that I will remember for the rest of my life. This date is just as important to me as any other date in all of my life. Mrs. Foley's baby boy, Mick Foley, Mankind, finally reaches the top of the professional wrestling world and captures the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship on Monday Night Raw. One of the great moments in the history of Monday Night Raw, also to be remembered as the Monday Night Raw where Eric Bischoff tried to sink WWE by having Tony Schiavone go on the microphone live to start Monday Nitro, WCW Monday Nitro. He says, Mick Foley, who used to wrestle here as Cactus Jack, is going to win the WWF's World Heavyweight Championship on Monday Night Raw. That'll put a lot of asses in the seats. That statement that Tony Schiavone made alienated a third of their fan base, and it took that third of their fan base. They immediately changed the channel from WCW to WWF Monday Night Raw so they could see a guy that everybody that was a universally loved wrestler fulfill his dream and win the World Championship. Mick Foley goes on to win it Monday Night Raw, beats WCW in the ratings, and never after that moment did Monday Night Raw lose the ratings battle with WCW. This was the defining moment where the fans said, we're done with WCW, we're going to WWE, they've got the better show, they've got a world champion we could believe in Mick Foley. You guys are telling me, that's basically you have a commentator on screen saying that Mick Foley sucks. When every fan in the wrestling world at the time, they may have liked him, they may have not liked him, but everybody had respect for him. One of the most respected wrestlers, probably one of the most universally loved wrestlers in the history of wrestling was Mick Foley. And this was his moment. Tony Schiavone and Eric Bischoff tried to take away from it. I think personally it made the moment even more special because more people got to see Mick Foley reaching the top of the WWE, something that no one could have predicted. Most of America didn't think was ever going to happen. Even Mick himself probably didn't think it would happen, and he did it. He got to the pinnacle of the biggest wrestling federation in the world, and he made it. Mick Foley went on to become a 3-time World Heavyweight Champion, a legend, a Hall of Famer, one of the most beloved characters of all time. And most of it all comes back to that one sentence, that'll put a lot of asses in seats. Well, guess what, Tony? It sure did, and it sure had a lot of people hit the remote to change the channel from your show. But basically, that's all I have to say about this top 10. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.